Hey, what's up? My name is Leif Arneson. I'm the co-host of the Vegan Gym podcast. And in this episode, I had the privilege of speaking with three-time Olympian Kendrick Farris. Kendrick competed in the 2008, 2012, and 2016 Summer Olympics and made history as the only male weightlifter from the USA to qualify for the 2016 Games, where he thrived as a vegan athlete. As a quick heads up, due to a technical issue, my video footage wasn't captured properly, so we only have video of Kendrick. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a future podcast episode, and I really hope that you enjoyed this inspiring conversation with Kendrick Farris. What's going on? My name is Leif Arneson, and this is the Vegan Gym podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. We have three-time Olympian, three-time Olympic weightlifter, Kendrick Farris.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Kendrick, it's awesome to have you here.
Man, thank you so much for having me, man. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. And it's great to have you. So we have an annual retreat for our clients called the Vegan Superhero Retreat, and you are one of our guests this year. I'd love to hear what have you thought so far about kind of the environment and what's kind of been your takeaway so far in this event?
Yes, indeed. Like what I've been seeing so far, it seems like this needs to be in multiple cities. Like when I came, I'm seeing everybody. I really was blown away. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I had not heard about this, until got in contact with you guys, got a video, seeing what went on last year, and I was like, okay, I think this is gonna be pretty cool, so definitely excited to be here. I would love to see something like this, in my hometown and in other places. So I don't know how many, I know you guys do one retreat a year, but I would love to see it in other places. It's pretty cool. Nice vibe.
Yeah, we're actually doing a second retreat next year, so We are slowly but surely scaling up.
That's right.
Yeah, so we've done a cold plunge together. We've done a bunch of different games. What's been the most enjoyable activity that you've done so far?
Probably the games. Like you told me, everybody gets pretty competitive,
Yeah.
And I'm listening to the chants, getting it going. I was like, okay, I see it's gonna be pretty turned up, and participating. I was like, yeah, it is pretty competitive. So I had fun doing that, enjoying it, looking forward to today.
When was the last time? So we were shooting slingshots.
That's right.
Yesterday.
That's
when was the last time you shot a slingshot?
I don't know if I've ever shot one.
Oh yeah.
I think it was my first time shooting one, and it was fun. So I'm like, okay, let's keep this going. So I don't know how many more games we got with the slingshot, but it seems like we can think of some more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday was our slingshot day, so
Okay.
we're actually done with slingshots.
Man.
It's just for one day, but I think you're really going to enjoy today's activity. So
okay,
that's
I'm
something
looking
to look
forward to it.
So I'd really love to dive into your backstory. How did you get into Olympic weightlifting? How did you determine that you really wanted to become a professional athlete? Could you just share kind of your backstory and what led you to the Olympic podium?
Indeed.
Or the Olympic platform?
Yes, sir. So, my background, like born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana. When I got introduced to the sport of weightlifting, my uncle Kevin Burns, he was reading about, this article in the paper. They started this weightlifting development center in Shreveport, Louisiana. It was after the 96 Olympic Games. USA Weightlifting, they started 12 satellite programs, little grassroots programs just around the United States. The city that I'm from, they got a bid, actually got one of the programs there. My coach, Dr. Kyle Pierce, he's been the head coach of the program, since his, beginnings. So that's kind of my introduction to it, going in a couple of times a week, learning how to do the movements, qualifying for, my first national competition when I was like 12. And, I really wanted to stick with it, wanted to play other sports and, use weightlifting to get stronger. And I really got into it because, it was a competitive sport. I initially thought, we were just going like kind of work out and just kind of learn how to lift and do it properly. I didn't know competitions were involved until we started doing them, locally within the gym. So me figuring out, hey, I think that I can take this to another level is qualifying for my first international competition. And that was at the age of 14. And I was like, okay, so this is something I can, really get into. My coach had told me, that I could, see the world and travel and, compete. And that was my early years of learning that, okay, this is an Olympic sport, but being 14 years old, that's when I had the idea when I was like, okay, I think I can make an Olympic team. Not really knowing what all it took or what all the details, but I knew I was in an Olympic sport.
Had you been an athlete prior to that in any other sports, or did you have aspirations of becoming a professional athlete even prior to discovering weightlifting?
Yeah, before getting introduced to Dr. Pierce and the program at LSU Shreveport, like every Saturday morning, I kid you not, I can't remember what age I started it at, but I used to watch this. It's this Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
They had this championship run like videotape.
Yeah, the dream team.
It wasn't a dream. It was like
Oh.
the Chicago Bulls. It was like whatever. I think they may have won like back-to-back championships.
Yeah.
Right. So I just don't recall the year. So I guess it could have been their first one or like their first back-to-back that they did. Anyway, but I used to watch this like every Saturday morning. And I was like really intrigued with like Michael Jordan, like Muhammad Ali. It's just my family just introduced me to a lot of different athletes. Sports seemed to be like a big thing in the family. I participated in karate, playing on different little football teams and stuff, and wanting to always be active outside. We played football, basketball, stickball, all kind of stuff. Just anything to be moving, But that was my mindset. Like I really wanted to be a professional athlete. I didn't know really which route I would go with it, but I really enjoyed football. I really enjoyed basketball, and I played those sports, I think, like all the way up until maybe my sophomore year in high school. But I used to watch that little VHS tape, and I was really hooked. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to go to that level.
Yeah. Have you ever seen speaking of the Chicago Bulls in the 90s and
Yes.
their team with Michael Jordan? Have you watched The Last Dance, that series?
I think I looked at maybe like 2 episodes. I don't know if it's 4 episodes they have on there. It's
I think
a
it
few
might be
episodes.
like 6 episodes.
Yeah, I don't think I watched all of them. I think I started looking at it, and it was like, I felt like it was like the first 3 episodes. I was like, I think I got to finish it, but I just haven't had time to finish it.
Yeah.
But it's there. I did get to take
It's
a peek
super
at
good.
it. Yeah, it was interesting. I said, okay.
So cool that they've been sitting on that footage and then they finally just put
long.
it all together, and it's just really powerful. We actually had our whole team, the Vegan Gym team, watch it because we like doing we like kind of growing together and learning together and being inspired, and that was a really cool series. So anybody who has not seen that, I highly recommend it.
Yes, I got to
And it
finish
really and it really kind of shows you inside, I think, the team dynamics and kind of Michael's competitive spirit in a really kind of deep way. When did you really become kind of hyper competitive with weightlifting? Was that kind of like right away, or that was you kind of built that as you built belief in yourself?
I think I was already kind of hyper competitive. Like I really had an attitude problem. I always wanted to win. I always wanted to win. Like, man, I would fight you. You know what I'm saying? Because I would get really upset, like losing. It really bothered me at a young age. And I think with my family and some of the things that we went through, and they always tried to give me some help, different little counseling or different outlets that I can, kind of get off into and put my energy into, just to try to develop a little bit more discipline. And I think that's something that helped me out tremendously. So we're going into, weightlifting, getting introduced to that and, participating. I only had one fight. And my coach, he tells this story, like it was the only fight that we've ever had in the gym. And I was young. We were being very petty, you know what I'm saying? And it came down to a platform. We have a gym. Me and my friend, we're good friends to this day. And we basically had the whole gym. It was like me and him and another coach in the gym. And I picked the platform. I think he came and got on the platform, which wasn't an issue, but I think he tried to like take it over, and then we ended up having to get separated, go to a platform, and he ended up coming to a platform next to me, and we were just being ridiculous, right? Just young children. But that competitiveness, because I'm like, no, this is mine. You know what I mean? He's like, no, this is mine, and we just being silly. But I learned a lot, you know what I'm saying? And wanting to be how to like just harness that and really direct it and saying, hey, I know if I put this energy like into these movements and into this competition, like really being focused, we can take it to another level. So I always had these aspirations of being top notch, and, just with more discipline and focus, I was able to just properly direct it.
So do you remember touching a barbell for the first time? Do you remember what that feeling was like? And was it kind of this instant love, this instant connection with the sport? or is that something that kind of grew over time?
I definitely felt it. I remember going in, we're learning how to do the movements. We're moving with a PVC pipe, just getting familiar with the with what we were going to be doing. And I remember my coach saying, all right, I want you to come try this. I'm going to try this bar. And I never forget it. I remember that day, I just thought, yeah, this is it. Like I knew I was there. That's how I felt. And that was just having an opportunity to, try the lifts with a barbell. And it was one of the children barbells, but it still was, it was a big deal to me because I'm going from the stick to an actual like lifting bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the process of qualifying for and training for your first Olympic Games?
Mm-hmm. So my first Olympic team that I made, I was 22 years old, right? 22 years old. And the process, I didn't understand like how like team points work because weightlifting is an individual sport, but when you make, those international teams, this is Team USA. So each individual performance, it gathers team points. So based on how you do overall as a team is going to determine like how many points you have, so many points you get, so many slots. And my first Olympic team in 2008, we had 2 slots, 2 men's slots, and I think we had 4 women's spots if I'm not mistaken. But the other man that represented in 2008 maybe was Chad Vaughn, really, really good friend of mine. Chad, he's one of those guys. He actually helped me out a lot going into my first Olympic team. And the way he helped me out is, I had some questions. He answered the questions, truthfully, and it really did help me. So having, older athletes or more seasoned athletes, because I think that was his second Olympic team, and he just shared with me. Anyone that had made a Olympic team, I'm trying to talk to him. Oscar Chaplin, that's someone that I looked up to a lot. He, I remember going to my first training camp in Colorado Springs, and he just, kind of took us under his wing, just like a big brother. And like, he's like, all right, I'm gonna take you guys around. I remember I had this afro. He had these really cool braids, and like, he took me to his stylist and let me get my hair braided. I just thought it was just cool. So he really treated me like a little brother, and wanted us to, stay on track, stay focused, because we were traveling from all over the country. I'm coming from Louisiana to Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center. So these are things that's like, it's building up, and I'm like, okay, I think this would be pretty cool to have an opportunity to make this team. And when I really felt that I was getting there is when I had an opportunity to attempt. This was just attempting. I knew I was going to eventually break one of Oscar Chaplin's like junior American records, and I had an opportunity to attempt it. And I remember talking to him at the competition, and I think I had just attempted it. I think I may have missed it at that meet. And I went and talked to him. I said, "Man, is it okay if I, attempt your record?" And he was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "Man, go for it, go break it." You know what I'm saying? And that was a boost because we were in the same weight class, and we still were kind of going, for that spot on the Olympic team as the years would have, progressed and pushed forward. So that process, understanding like you have to perform well at these world championships to score these points. And man, once I figured that out, I was like, okay, so I really have to be focused, not just for myself, but so that I can perform well, so that we can, gather and have good team points and give, as many athletes as we can an opportunity to make an Olympic team. So that's what I learned. Our individual performance at certain international competitions, they get us team points, and those team points determine how many spots we have.
Yeah, I really love the competitive spirit blended with the sportsmanship and camaraderie that you just kind of mentioned with Oscar, and the fact that you can compete with people and like want to beat each other, but also cheer each other on. I think that's just the pinnacle of being a great athlete and good sportsman. So yeah, how do you kind of view, maybe you could give a little bit of backstory into the sport of Olympic weightlifting and how you've kind of seen the sport develop and where you kind of see the future of Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah, when I came into the sport at a young age, there were only like a few national competitions a year. And now, I mean, it's so many of them, I can't even count all of them, right? Which is a great thing. So it's letting you know that the sport is growing. There's a high demand to compete. there's a high demand to get our younger athletes on a competitive stage so they can understand, like, what it takes and the difference from being in training and doing the movements versus being in a competition and going out and being able to kind of, perform on command type thing. So having that opportunity, man, I think is great. And we see that these things are building up. So that's one of the differences that I see. More people, it's more competitions, it's more coaching. So we have an opportunity to like just share, and educate our coaches, educate our athletes, and that's something that I would like to do. And that's just my introduction to it. But having a chance to listen to Dr. Pierce and his knowledge and what his experiences, him sharing like some of the history on the sport and understanding that weightlifting, is one of the original, Olympic sports, and they had a lot of different movements. You had the clean and press, you had the clean and jerk, and they had a 2-man lift, and then seeing it develop into what it is now, what they're doing, snatching, clean and jerk, individual person, and women's weightlifting growing. Like the women's inauguration to the Olympic Games was in 2000. So like that's
when really in Olympic weightlifting?
In Olympic weightlifting. So
wow.
you had women competing in weightlifting, like they had world championships and things of that nature, but they were not competing at the Olympic Games. So until 2000. So 2000, I think is when they actually had the like women's inauguration in actually in the Olympics. So women were doing Olympic style weightlifting, but it wasn't until we got until, the 2000s where they said, okay, now we're allowing women to actually compete in the Olympic Games. So that's something that I, got to see happen because it wasn't going on when I first started, even though it was just 4 years. But when I started in 97, that wasn't happening. In 96, you didn't have any women compete in the Olympics. So, in weightlifting. So just to see it grow, see women out here dominating, seeing our young daughters getting involved in the sport and not, being afraid to be strong, and you know what I mean. These things are really good, and they're very cool to me. So these are just some changes that I've seen, just in the sport, and I think it's very important for us to know so that we can, continue to encourage our daughters to get involved with it. Understand there are a lot of different weight classes, people come in a lot of different shapes, sizes, heights, all these things. So those are just some of the things that I've seen kind of growing up in it.
Yeah, I love that, and I think really watching women just across the board really take up the sport of weightlifting, I think is a really beautiful thing to see. And most of our clients are female, most of our community is female, and I just get to see firsthand the power of resistance training, strength training in transforming really everyone's perspective on what's possible for them. But I see just humongous benefits to women, perhaps kind of even in particular, doing resistance training, strength training, which, as we're kind of talking about, maybe has been a little bit more of a traditionally male sport. So I know that you work with young adults and children through your programs. What have you seen be some of the benefits, I guess, to younger girls and women in particular for using resistance training, strength training to really transform their confidence, their self-belief, and really reframe what's possible for them in life?
Yes, I've seen people just like blossom. You see people coming to the gym very quiet. They're learning how to do the stuff, and then once you kind of see develop, I mean, like personalities develop, is pretty amazing. I'm talking about even from my peers, and it's being in a position now to be, a little older, a little bit more seasoned, and working with younger athletes. I see the same thing happening. And for me, it seems like it's happening a lot faster. Like some people, they may come in, they may be quiet for like maybe a day or so, and it's like all of a sudden, like they come back because they've learned like a couple of movements, and then it's like they really get into it. So we're gonna do this today, and it's like, you were quiet. I didn't know what your voice sounded like. You know what I mean? So those things are always positive for me. So when I'm seeing this, I know it's only going to be even more incredible. Like what I just mentioned with all of these competitions, all of these opportunities, you know, to be able to travel, which I think is a very huge key component of like, you know, just the weightlifting and competing, because now you're going to a different place, someplace you're unfamiliar with. Now you got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, you know, and you're meeting people from different places, which is always great because it just challenges perspective, even at a young age, because you can have someone, for example, from Minnesota. If you're from Louisiana, the accents are so different, you know, it's like engaging. So that's how it was for me. I'm meeting people from different places and hearing all these different accents. And I used to kind of play this game with myself where I wanted to try to figure out where people were from, listening to their accents. So I know this is something that's really going to help children. You know, we're in our program, we have so many people coming from different countries, where they come from Japan, Colombia, I mean, you name it. So for those children to meet different people that speak in different languages and things of that nature is really good, because like they're getting like firsthand exposure to different cultures. So seeing people's personalities developed is like always the best for me.
I really love how inclusive Olympic weightlifting is, just the weightlifting community in general. I see the same thing in the powerlifting community and just kind of the strength community as a whole. And I enjoy going to competitions because you really feel and see that the sportsmanship, the people cheering each other on, even people you're competing against. And I think blending the competitive spirit with the spirit of just really wanting the best for your fellow athletes, I think is a really beautiful thing to see that makes weightlifting just a really special community.
It really is. You know, growing up in the sport, I've had friends out of St. Louis, right? It's a program in St. Louis. I think it's still going on to this day. It's called Live for Life. I met one of my good friends, we're still friends to this day, Derek Johnson. He lives out in California right now. He has a after school program. It's called the Kings of Weightlifting. You know, I have an opportunity to work with him as well. It's an after school program at Compton. The reason why I'm mentioning this program is, again, meeting people from different places and seeing how they do things, right? And getting around, you know, people that look like you. It wasn't a lot of people I felt that looked like myself, right? Initially coming into it is why I kind of gravitated towards a Corey Wills or an Oscar Chaplin. But having that and seeing like what's going on today, I said, man, it's even more incredible, because we have so many different programs, people from all walks of life, you know, and they're coming together, and we're not only we're competing against one another, because me and Derek, we used to be in the same weight class, right? And I mean, we competed against each other, but we still were, you know, good friends. When the competition is on, it's on. And then afterwards, we just, you know, we'd laugh and we'd talk about the competition. He could have won a competition. I don't think I've ever beat him in a competition, but it's like I didn't want to fight him. You know what I mean? I wanted him to do the best that he could to challenge myself. And I grew up like that. At another athlete that I competed against named James Samson. James is from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we used to cheer each other on, compete against each other. I mean, I won some competition, he won some competition, but I felt like I won even when he made big lifts, because I was like, oh, okay, he made 125, okay, so I want to get, you know what I mean? It's just, it was that type of thing going on, and I hope that's something that we can still, you know, grow and develop in the sport. I don't want people to lose sight of it, because with that rapid growth, you know, certain things can get lost in the shuffle. But I'm hoping that this is a strong enough foundation where people understand we have to have some camaraderie with one another, right? We have to have some competitiveness, and that's what's going to push, you know, like Team USA, and that's what's going to like push the sport forward, is having that opportunity to know, like, man, we got to have a nice balance. Like, I don't want to compete against anyone that's not at their best. You know what I'm saying? Like, if someone's having a bad meet, it doesn't make me like, oh yes, he's missing his lifts. No, I want you to make them. So it like forces me to get out there and really be focused and have to make my lifts. So that's kind of how I grew up in the sport, and I still hold it very dear. So I want people to know, like, hey man, we're in it together.
I think that's such an important mindset to maintain, because I think the growth side, growing is ultimately the biggest win that you're going to have.
Yes.
Growing mentally, growing with your confidence, self-belief, and just building yourself up to be a better version of yourself.
Yes.
Is ultimately that's the gold medal. And if you surround yourself with other people who can push you to constantly improve and reach new heights, that's where the magic happens.
That's right.
And that's why I love the vegan superhero games that we do here, because we really try to bring out the competitive spirit, but also blend that with, ultimately we're all here to cheer each other on, and the kind of ultimate win is being just a really extraordinary team player and just supporting each other. So I think that blend is just really important.
That's right. I saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening.
What was it like stepping onto, well, actually, I guess two things. I'd love to hear, what was it like? I'm just curious. What was it like when you stepped into the first opening ceremony at your first Olympics? Was there, whenever I see the athletes on TV, when they're walking into a stadium or wherever it is, I just can't imagine how incredible that must feel after putting in years, sometimes decades of really hard focused work, and to be able to kind of ultimately make that. Was that kind of a special moment for you?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Very surreal. Stadium full of people. In 2008, it was at the Bird Nest Stadium, that arena that they had, man, and it was crazy because it was packed. The show that they put on for opening ceremonies was incredible.
It was incredible.
Just lighting the torch. If you haven't seen it, just pull it up on YouTube, and it is, man, I can't even really put it into words. But I remember how I felt. I was ready. I was like ready to go compete like right then. I was like, man, if we lift right now, there's no telling what I would lift.
PRs.
Oh yeah, definitely. I knew it. That's how I felt. So I still get that same feeling. I just remember, So I know for certain if anyone that was in there, I know some athletes didn't get to do it only because they had to compete like maybe it was the next day or the day of, but it was incredible, man. Yeah, they took their time, really put on a great show, and the people, that came out to support it, along obviously the athletes there, really excited, but just the people, you can tell they were really into it. Very proud, you know what I mean, of what their country was putting on, and what they were showing, because they kind of showed their history, if I'm not mistaken. I remember them kind of showing their history and their movement, with the Olympics, just within their own country, and it's just, man, it was very inspiring. So I still have that feeling with me today. Yeah, I'm ready to lift now. That's how I feel. It was pretty cool, man.
I feel like the performers in that opening ceremony probably practiced on the level of some professional athletes.
They had to
get prepped for that.
They had to. You had the guy running around the ring of the top of the stadium, to light the torch. It was, man, I was like, this is top notch. Because I don't know if I would have wanted to got up there to do that. But I know they definitely put some time in, put some training, just a coordination of all the performance. It's really
impressive. Very impressive. What was it like stepping onto your first Olympic platform at those games?
When I stepped on the platform, I just knew, I'd already did all my my visual exercises. I'd already seen myself doing it, and it's actually using my person to go and lift and compete. It was incredible. I can hear my mom's voice. I can hear my teammates, the crowd. Man, everybody was just fired up. It's they really just wanted to see some great lifting, and yeah, stepping up there, I just knew it. Felt like my first junior Olympic competition. It's just me. So I have to really, just be focused and just do the movements. And everything felt amazing. I think I made all my lifts in that competition.
Yeah, you said that your mom's been to a good number of your competitions.
Yes.
And you were telling us yesterday how she has this way of kind of calming you down, focusing you. So could you share a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, she says the same thing every single time. She's been saying this since that competition I was telling you about. It's my first junior Olympic competition. It was in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And all she says, take your time, baby, every time. And it's like, okay, like that's all you can do. It's no need to rush. You know what I mean? The clock is already on. So it's like, get up there, do your thing. That's how I kind of hear, no, just do your thing. Don't worry about anything else. And the same thing, I can still hear that same voice, stepping out on the platform, out of all the crowd, cheering, making that noise. I can hear that one voice just telling me to take my time. So that's what I try to do now, just don't want to move in haste with anything, So yeah, man, it's very distinctive and very calming, you know what I mean? And incredible support. Just that one line, her saying that is like, it means so much.
How do you set your attempts for a competition, especially the Olympic Games, where you are only going to have a certain number of attempts, and how do you strategize that plan heading into it?
It's the same way for any, like from a local competition to a regional, national, international competition. You have to approach it in the same manner. So if you have a formula and you've been using it, you don't want to switch it up, just because you get on a bigger stage. So again, if my max was 50 pounds and I had good training and I wanted to, try to make a little bit more than that, then, we'll try to start, pretty close to that 50 pounds, maybe like 45 pounds, right? So that's the first attempt. Second attempt, we might be able to go to the 50 pounds and then maybe do a little bit more than the 50, 52, 53 pounds. It all depends on how you're feeling. And then again, kind of what's going on with the competition, because you have those competitors and you don't want to be in the back waiting a long time, because it's not like you get to go, hey, let me do a temp and then I get to go again. It only depends on what the numbers are, because they're working it up. So if you don't have anyone that's like following you, so to speak, and you have to follow yourself, then you still have to be strategic so that you're not getting tired, right? The adrenaline is going crazy. You just came off stage, did a lift. Let's say you made it, so now you have to follow yourself, and they'll give you a 2-minute clock to do that. So you have to kind of be strategic. Like you may have it where they have the automatic increase, meaning you make a lift and then they automatically, move the weight up a bit if no one else is taking it. So you just have to be, paying attention and understanding like what's going on. So you don't want to do a lift, have to wait a long time, So the way we try to do it is we use a snatch replacement. Basically, like if I'm in a competition and depending on what's going on, if it's a situation where I have to follow myself, that's great, because, you can kind of get all three of those in and move on. But if it's a situation where a lot of people are attempting the same weights, you may have to not deviate from your plan, but you may have to just take some different numbers so that you can keep that groove going and, and have a successful like snatch portion of the competition, because that's how the competition is divided up into 2 portions. You get 3 attempts in one lift and then 3 attempts in another. But again, you don't want to get too far away from your plan, and you don't want to get so hung up on a number that you can't focus. And I think that happens to some athletes sometimes, because they're like, man, I really wanted to make this lift, or I really wanted to attempt this. And it might not line up like that in the competition, depending on how many athletes are wanting to attempt that or how many athletes you have in your session. So you have to be open and say, okay, I would rather be in a situation where I make all my lifts. I'm not trying to, again, I mentioned the 50 pounds. I'm not going to start with 35 pounds and then, you know what I mean, just so I can make all the lifts. But I want to make sure that I'm getting a good groove for the competition, making the lifts on the platform, so we have a good segue to the next portion.
Yeah, could you just briefly touch on the 2 different movements that you do,
okay,
and just kind of break those down for anyone who
not familiar with,
maybe is not familiar with Olympic weightlifting?
For sure. So in an Olympic weightlifting competition, the way it'll go is you have the snatch portion, and that's how it starts off. And you're gonna get 3 attempts in those lifts, and you have to make at least one of those 3 attempts to stay in the competition. So once the snatch portion is completed, there'll be a small break in between, like 10-minute break. Everybody have the opportunity, go in the back and you start warming up. Some people warming up at different times than others, obviously depending on what numbers you're taking. And then they'll start the clean and jerk portion of the competition. And again, you'll get 3 attempts in those lifts. And that's when it's crunch time now, because, you got the snatch portion out of the way and you kind of see where everyone is ranked, right? And you'll see what people are starting with, and now you want to really like go for placement. I mean, not go for play, like go for the win, so to speak. Okay, if I finish 4th, 5th place in the snatch, then I know, hey, I'm gonna have to, basically like out clean and jerk everybody depending on what numbers they did. So it's a lot of strategy that goes into it, but if we had a board, you're really looking at it, you can kind of pinpoint something. You say, okay, because you're kind of familiar with your competition. You know, some people, they're lifting around this amount of weight or whatever the case may be. And you just got to make sure you're sticking to your plan. So if you know someone is just, you know, let's say they're lifting way more than you, obviously you're not going to be trying to, you know, get away from your plan and like chase them. But some people, they do this chasing game, and that's I don't think that's wise. I think it's always important just to make sure, you know, you get your snatches in, wherever it may be. If you finish, you know, first or you finish 7th, and then really be strategic with your clean and jerks, because you can still get on the podium, finishing like 6th place in a snatch. You know what I'm saying? So you can't get discouraged like looking at that part of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's a little strategy that goes into it. But it's 2 portions in the competition: snatch portion, clean and jerk portion. You get 3 attempts in each.
What are kind of your lifetime PRs for both of those different movements? And yeah, how would those numbers would you have ever thought those numbers were possible kind of earlier in your Olympic weightlifting journey?
Yeah, I honestly thought it all was possible. I'm just being honest. Like I was just like that. I really felt that I could do it. You know, whatever I, you know, worked towards and like, you know, wrote my goals down and like, you know, just wanted to like accomplish it. I felt I could do it. I think the most I've made, I think in competition is 168 kilos in the snatch. I think that's like around like 373. Forgive me if my math is off. In the clean and jerk, I've done 211 kilos in competition, and I think that's around maybe like 470 something, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to get the calculator out and do it, but 168 kilos in the snatch and 211 kilos in the clean and jerk.
And those were set at 94 kilos?
Those were set at 94 kilos. And those are all-time records. All-time record total, all-time record clean and jerk, in the 94 kilo class, all-time record, I think clean and jerk in total in the 85 kilo class as well. So I got like 2 all-time records for the U.S. in 2 different weight classes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
really impressive. What did it feel like to hit a PR in a major competition? Is that just incredible?
Yeah, it is. That same feeling I told you about going from the PVC pipe to the bar. Like I felt like, I'm like, man, I'm top notch. This is just how I felt. You hit a PR, and I'm saying I feel top notch for myself because I'm like, okay, this is something that I wanted to do, and I did it. But I'm always like working towards the next goal. So those things were like really incredible feelings for me because I'm like, man, this is time put in. And, you know, I achieved that goal, so I can check it off the list. So for me, those were things like, okay, the plan is working. So it made me never wanted to deviate from the plan because I'm like, it's constantly working. Even if it didn't come when I wanted to. It was a young man. He told me this. His name is Dimitri McAtee, man. Still one of my good friends, young man, but he was talking about strength. And he said, man, it's like the wind, man. It comes when it comes. You know what I'm saying? You just got to be ready for it. So I'm always the type to be waiting for that breeze. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of gets into a conversation that we've had over the last 2 days about trusting the process.
Yes.
And I think that's something that we talk a lot about on this podcast and within our community coaching program. I think it's so incredibly important to trust the process. So
Yes.
What does trusting the process mean to you, and how has that really had an impact on your athletic career?
For me, it makes me think about, you know, all of the time, research, all the effort, you know, that my coaches put into like developing the program. Like what we follow is like I guess like, you know, 12-week training cycles, learning how to really train and, you know, pay attention to like your body and how you're reacting. So for me, really trusting that, you know, the time that he put into developing the program, that is going to work. Like my coach, he has this joke, like he says, the only reason why he got into coaching because he wanted to figure out why he couldn't get strong. You know what I'm saying? And I just always thought that was fun. I'm like, man, you know what you're doing. This is how it would always hit my head. I'm like, you know what you're doing because I'm doing the workouts. I'm like, man, it's working. And that's something that he actually battled out here because I guess his approach to the training and the style of training that we were doing, I could say a lot of people probably didn't agree with it because it didn't look traditional, so to speak. But what he came up with, it wasn't like, he came up with this theory and they said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. No, it was all based on research. It's all based on, just experimentation. And like I said, it was one of those things where I knew this is an individual that I can trust. This is someone that had been speaking life into me since I first met him. This is what he was telling me. Hey, man, you can see the world if you do this. Hey, do it. You know what I mean? It was very encouraging, and he provided an incentive. You know what I'm saying? So once I qualified again for that first national competition at 12, you couldn't tell me anything about, you know what I mean? Oh, he don't know what he's talking about, or because a lot of people have their own ideas. They have their own training. They have their own experience, and they're like, oh, so you ever do this exercise? You do this, and oh man, you're doing this, man, you're not gonna get strong. How you gonna, so people make different comments, and I'm like, no, I just wasn't moved by it. And if it was something that caught my attention, I would just talk to him about it. I'm like, yeah, somebody was telling me about this, or what do you think about this? And he'd be like, yeah, that can be that's good if you're doing this, or if you're approaching training in this manner. You're like, but what we're doing, hey, it takes a little time. We're training, like over the years, we're thinking like longevity. You know what I'm saying? We're thinking about development over a number of years, not just, oh, I'm trying to see how strong I can get, you know what I mean? Like in 2 days, because he was like, no, you can do this and you can see some increases. And then it's actually going to start, kind of being a detriment to you, and for example, and it's no knock on anyone. I remember talking to him one time. We had bench press in our workouts, and I was talking to him about like just pyramid scheme. I was like, I was like, man, God told me, he's benching this much, he's doing pyramid. He's like, yeah, you could definitely make some gains. And he's like, but it's going to be short term. And he just explained to me, like, we're doing like long-term training, you know what I'm saying? And so it never made me want to go against like what we were doing. Only ask any question that come to mind, but I only wanted to implement things in my training that were going to fit, that were going to actually work for like what we were doing. And that's what I learned, because he was always open-minded. If I brought something and it was really good, he was like, you know what? Yeah, we could do that, and we don't have to take this out, but we can add this. And if you're gonna do this, let's switch this up. And that's how we work with each other. And I think that's how we developed and did so well with one another, because he knows what he knows. You know what I'm saying? He has his doctrine, and man, he's on the International Scientific and Research Committee. So, a very knowledgeable but open-minded guy. So that for me, that makes it easy, because he was easy to approach, to talk about the training. I didn't feel like he's someone that would always say no. So now I got to go sneak and try to do some stuff. And some people do that, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think taking just a really grounded approach and saying, hey, this is the plan. We know it works, and we're not going to go off and do this cool new program that has all the hype right now, or deviate because we're in kind of a plateau right now.
Yeah.
We're just going to continue pushing forward, trusting the process. And I just think that's where you can make really incredible long-term progress. So how do you kind of cultivate a long-term mindset around setting really ambitious long-term goals, such as making it to the Olympics? How do you kind of really maintain that long-term mindset when you have to show up day after day after day after day and put in some really hard work? So how do you kind of maintain the long-term perspective?
Yeah, when you're building something, we know it had to be a brick a day. Like, you really had to go get that brick, you know what I'm saying, and actually put it down. That's the only way it would work. You had to put the work in. Like, that style of training that we do is periodization. So it's long term. You have to have those short term goals. Those short term goals are stepping stones, you know what I'm saying, to your overall goal. So looking at a competition schedule, we knew how many competitions, we were aiming to do that year. We knew what was qualifiers, because you had primary qualifiers, you had secondary qualifiers for certain international teams, and certain international competitions will be either primary or secondary, for other competitions, right? Such as the Olympic Games. Because let's say I had a great world championships. That's not gonna that's not going to, put you on the Olympic team. It can be used as a secondary qualifier depending on what the situation is. But obviously the primary qualifier is going to be the Olympic trials. So you have to make sure that you can, qualify to go to that Olympic trials so that you can have an opportunity, you know what I'm saying, to have that good competition and then solidify your spot on the Olympic team. So you would have to really understand like the qualifying procedures and then do training accordingly. Because I wouldn't want to peak too early, for example, and it can happen. Let's say you're really fired up, you're training, and you got great training. You peaked at the secondary qualifier. Now the primary qualifier is coming around. You don't mimic those numbers, but you had a great competition. And let's say someone has an even greater competition at the primary, or they don't even have a better competition that you had at the secondary. But the primary qualifier, they beat you or they did well. They can't go back and grab the secondary and say, hey, we're going to push this. So depending on the situation, but typically it's not like that. So you would have to understand which competitions do I need to have it at, if that makes sense. Not that you're taking off at any competition, but you're just following your plan, right? So that's how we approached it, and that's how we always looked at it. So you can go back and you'll see some competitions, whether it be a national competition, I may have finished like second overall, but I wasn't peaking for that competition. For some people, that would probably like just mess their ego up. I'm supposed to be number one. I didn't really care about that. Like, It's not like I went in and said, yeah, I want to be second, or hey, I want to be third, or I want to be fourth. Nah, I was just sticking to the plan. I wasn't worried about those results as far as like a placement. I just want to make sure, like, what did I do at that competition? What was the goal? Was the goal to come in and make sure we made our lifts so that we can segue, you know what I'm saying, and go to like the primary qualifier and do well there? Or is it another international competition that's coming up right behind this qualifier? And then, that's the one we're focused on. So really had to I'm just being honest, like you have to submit yourself to the program. You have to be humble and you have to know and trust and say, okay, I know this is going to work out for me. But that's just growing up in a program. Hey, I was just raised up in it, so it made sense to me. I'm listening to, who's in charge.
That's a great example of short-term versus long-term thinking.
Yes.
and goal setting. So to be a hyper-competitive person, show up to the platform, I'm sure it's not easy to hold yourself back a little bit and say, oh, well, if I really tried right now, I could get first place, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to stick to our plan because I've got some bigger long-term goals. So I imagine that would be challenging for many people, myself included. Maybe it was even challenging for you, but that's a great representation of why it's just really important to maintain the long-term perspective, because ultimately those long-term goals are going to be the really incredible achievements that you can put most of your focus into.
That's right. So we the saying, like I wouldn't want to run down and get one. I'd rather walk down and get it all. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we approached it. It was that simple. And I'm not saying that I didn't have struggles or didn't have moments where I wanted more, because I've had them. I'm like, I want to put more. I want to try this, and you know what I mean. And we always worked it out, But it's you really do have to understand like what the overall goal is and constantly remind yourself, because it's not like I wasn't giving a max effort. I really learned that no, the body is not ready to do what I'm thinking. You know what I'm saying? I can do, or what I know I can do, because of how the training is going. So just because your max lift, let's say your max lift is 50 pounds, if you're not like training to peak at that particular competition, it's probably not gonna work out for you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know, okay, no, I'm not peaking right now. Like it's not time right now. So again, I always give a max effort. I always try to give a max effort, but it's just about timing.
You just mentioned challenges, and I think it's easy for people to look at professional athletes, people who have really reached the pinnacle of whatever sport or discipline they have applied themselves in, and think, oh, it must be easier for them, or it must have been an easier process for them because I'm struggling and they just look like they're this incredible athlete who has been able to accomplish so much. So could you share a little bit about some of your major challenges and struggles that you've gone through in your professional lifting career, and how those have kind of shaped you as an athlete in person?
Yes. Something personal for me would be like my clean and jerk. Like I have these all-time records, right? But growing and developing in the sport, like I was one of those people, like they kind of talked about me a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Because of my jerk technique, I would kind of go back and forth between a split, what some people kind of call a splot, because my distance on my split was kind of short, you know what I mean? It wasn't
a splot.
Yeah, they called it a splot because it was in between like a split and a squat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a splot jerk. I still calling it a kick jerk, you know what I'm saying? In relation to like a bicycle and a kickstand. I like it looks awkward, but it's not going anywhere. It's secure, right? So hearing that chatter and different stuff online, and this is early on, you know what I'm saying? Like hearing this kind of like throughout my career, it didn't discourage me. It actually just wanted me to get better at it. But once I figured out, hey, like I'm really like, a power and a squat jerker, and I'm like kind of like a pitcher, you know what I'm saying? I actually have a few different styles I can bring out when I need to. So I stopped looking at it like, man, I wish I could just do a regular split jerk like everyone else.
Yeah.
I started looking at it like, nah, I actually got a few in my arsenal. I can really base it off the situation and like, just be kind of a situational jerker, depending on what I'm feeling, how I feel, and I can do it that way. And it worked out for me. So those are some of the struggles that I've had as far as like just with a competition lift and really trying to find my identity with that movement. Other things would be training with athletes, great athletes, that are having, I would say, more success faster. That's a challenge only because, you feel like, hey, I can do that too. But again, we're rooted like in camaraderie and those things were always inspiring for me. And it wouldn't even have to be someone that was lifting more than me. It could be someone just having great training and they're making progress. One of my good friends named Chris Kim, he's like one of the like hardest workers that I've seen. You know what I'm saying? He didn't make any international teams, nothing like that. But when it came to being in the gym, like we were always in the gym together. He worked, man, incredibly hard, very inspiring. So his training was like my training as well. I always wanted him to do well. Very knowledgeable on the sport. I'm talking about this is before we got the smartphones and can pull something up on Google. You ask him a question, like, I mean, almost about anything, but especially about weightlifting, this guy would run it off and I'm talking about just blow you away. And he's actually, just a quick side note, he was someone who actually helped USA Weightlifting discover some points that we actually had, you know what I'm saying, that were unaccounted for. Because he went back, because like I say, he really loved the sport. He went through the sport, he found, okay, no, this team actually got qualified, so they don't have, now this athlete got disqualified, so those points that they gave them, they really, so USA Weightlifting actually got to challenge something that he found and actually use it to their benefit. But those are the type of people that I got to be around. So I saw his struggles. So I felt I struggled with him because I wanted to encourage him. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing with me. Like he wasn't someone that like talked about me or anything like that. He was just always encouraging. He was always there. So some of my struggles in training, like early on success, struggling with my jerk identity, and just always wanted to do well. Like I just wanted to do well. So some days you don't always feel good, right? And you got other stuff going on outside of the gym. So I never tried to pour that stuff on people that I was training with. But I felt that me and him had a lot of similar struggles, you know what I'm saying? Whether it kind of be with our family and trying to figure out, how we want to go about things. So, having someone that you can confide in or someone that can identify with some of the things that you're going through is always great, because we were in the gym together a lot, amongst with other people, but anyone that knows how the program is at, in Shreveport, they know who Chris Kim is and they know like the time that he put in, you know what I'm saying? So that was some of my early struggles, but those are people and different situations that kind of help me get through it.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. Surrounding yourself with the right people and just understanding that challenges are just part of the journey. And it's just a matter of showing up every single day and putting one step in front of the other. And ultimately, you can really accomplish whatever and push through whatever challenges and adversity you face.
Yeah, you can't run from it. A quote that kept me going from Frederick Douglass, like, you cannot have progress without struggle. So that's something that got me really wanting to look forward to struggling. You know what I'm saying? Not to get down on myself, but man, to get to progress.
Yeah, that's a powerful quote.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I kept in front of me like all the time. And we had stuff in the gym like Why the Moon, you know what I'm saying, from John F. Kennedy, his speech at Rice University.
Yeah.
Like, we want to go to the moon, not because it is easy, because it's difficult. You know what I'm saying? So we had different quotes and stuff around the gym, even from Robert Kennedy. Why put off today what you can do? No, why put off tomorrow what you can do today? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he got it from somewhere, but these are just quotes that we had around the gym, and I'm like, okay. So I can't be like, yeah, well, I'll do that tomorrow. And I'm like, nah, we here today. Let's get it, you know? So, yeah.
I love inspiring quotes.
Me too. I love it.
I type them into my phone whenever I find new ones.
Come on.
And just, I just love having a really hyper consolidated perspective shift.
That's right.
That I can just read, and it helps kind of always recalibrate my mind and keep me focused on what I need to focus on. So yeah, big lover of quotes. What was it like training for your second Olympic Games? What was the process? How did the process maybe look different than your first one? And could you share a little bit about your journey there?
That's right. The difference, I think, in the first and second one is like, okay, now I'm a little bit older. Still a young man. Like, when I made the team, I was 26, but you got younger athletes, you know, that are kind of coming up, and I mean, doing incredible, you know, and, you know, people, they start, you know, picking their favorites, or, you know, they have their pick on who they feel, you know, is going to be on the Olympic team. So again, learning how to like kind of silence some of that chatter, because now, you know, I've made an Olympic team, and, you know, I want to, you know, develop into my own brand at this point. And I'm like, you know, I came up with my little Blessed Gym, you know what I'm saying? And I'm putting that out there and, like, you know, sharing it with people, and, you know, just wanting to like establish myself as just more as a weightlifter at this point. So that's one of the hugest differences that I had going into training for my second Olympic team. And I was hearing it, like, again, like just a little chatter, like, you know, some people don't think you can do it again because, you know, we got all this new talent, or you have, you know, other veterans who can, you know, have an opportunity to, you know, make an Olympic team, their first one or their second or third, you know. So it's just really having to stay focused and know, hey, man, you got something going too, and not losing sight, you know what I'm saying, of what that's all about. Because I've gotten too deep off into it, you know, learning about branding and, you know, wanting to, you know, have, you know, different, you know, little gear and, you know, little different little things that you can have that people can, you know, have a piece of you, so to speak, and understanding like, hey, I can't really do any of that stuff if I'm not taking care of this part, because I don't just want to be a brand, you know what I'm saying? I'm still an athlete. I still want to perform well. I still want to do well. So those are some of the differences that I saw. Like, okay, now I got to try to balance this thing out. You know what I mean? Married, got children, and I, you know, I got this my other little baby, like I said, my little brand, and I'm trying to push it. So just really finding that balance. That's what came about in the second Olympic team versus the first.
Was it any different stepping out on the platform at the second Olympics? Did it feel any different, or is it just kind of, did you have the same feeling?
Man, it was incredible, because all the Olympic Games are different. Obviously, you know, you got different host countries, and, you know, and you have some athletes that are returning, but you have a lot of new athletes that are coming in. So it's just different in a sense of, I guess, what's going on in that particular place, or whatever the news wants to talk about, or whatever the big stories are, because it's just different things that happen at different times. Mm-hmm. But to me, what's similar about it is, like, it's still the competitions that it's still a competition structure, same competition structure that we've been doing like all these years, and it is an Olympic game. So that's what's similar about it. So stepping on that stage, I mean, dude, super motivated, man, super inspired. All of that stuff was still there. Like it wasn't like, okay, I'm at another one. Like I didn't even feel like that. Like I always felt like, man, like it's on. You know what I'm saying? So that second one, like I just wanted to perform well. Like again, even though I'm, a little bit older, got a few more different little aches and stuff that start happening. So it's just like figuring out how to be strategic, learning how to really listen to my body and just stay focused. And I keep harping on that because it's like you may go out there and everything doesn't feel good, right? But so what am I gonna focus on? Oh man, I'm hurting. I keep thinking about that. Nah, you have to understand like why you're there, and you have to trust. Like, no, I know I'm gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going out there like limping and anything of that nature. And if I was, I think I still would be able to have that balance. If I need to go and do this lift, or should I just take the step back, right? But again, man, I enjoyed it. I was very much inspired. Even with it being my second Olympic team, I still had goals that I was trying to accomplish.
I'm curious, what you never see on TV, anyone who's not actually there and part of an Olympic team, you don't really see behind the scenes. So I'm just curious, are you guys like sizing each other up in the warm up area, kind of like behind the platform or wherever you're doing that? Or what's the kind of atmosphere in the warm up area before you're coming out to the platform?
I feel like there's a lot of tension. I personally do. You have some athletes, like I said, that from previous competitions, and there's some good camaraderie, but some people are not, they're not really with that, if that makes sense, because they're with their country, they have their teammates, they have their coaches, and I mean they're giving you the stone face. You know what I'm saying? So it's that type of thing. And I felt it from some athletes, a lot more coaches though. You know what I'm saying? Like and they seemed like they were more concerned for their athlete or something. But I always felt good, just being honest. But I mean, I could put the face on too, because I'm ready to compete and I know why I'm there. It's not like we're in a bag, everybody just all hugging and stuff. It's nothing like that. But your friends, I mean, they really are your friends, regardless if you guys are competing against each other or not. Like it's still, that camaraderie still would be there. But overall, like, yeah, it's on. Like you walk back there, you can feel it. Yeah, you would think that it's going to be some fights going on, like it's a boxing match or something along that nature. So that's how you know it's a competition. You know what I'm saying? People are focused on what they're there for, and you can tell like they want it too. So
yeah, I think that that doesn't surprise me. But
yeah,
I think having a bunch of just world-class competitors at the top of the top of the top who are in a room together from all over the world, and everyone wants to step onto the podium.
That's right.
And that's a lot of tension, as you said.
a lot. And you get some comments and stuff like I don't recall too many athletes like just saying anything. You know what I'm saying? To me, it was more so coaches. Like you coaches make some little slick comments and stuff, like especially if they're speaking your language. Like, for example, you going out, before you get ready to go out, because you got an athlete on stage, you got someone on deck, meaning they're up next, and then you got someone that's gonna follow, right? So you kind of do your warm-ups, and then you go into this area where like you're waiting to get ready to go on stage. We've done our warm-ups, we're waiting. You have some coaches like they make little comments like, "Oh yeah, well, hey, we're gonna do this. He's probably not gonna make that." They're saying, they're saying stuff to try to get in
They're
your
saying
head.
It like right next to you.
Right next to you. Right next to you. No, we're gonna focus on this. We'll go to this. They probably not gonna go to this. Or no, not probably. But like he's not gonna go to this. Or no, he won't make this. We'll do this. Like they're saying
Just
little
mind
stuff.
games.
Yeah. But I'm like, come on, man. Like, dude, you don't do my training. Like that doesn't bother me. You said I'm not gonna make it. That's really making me dial in.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of the time anyone who's getting to the Olympics is a serious competitor who's going to be dialed in.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm not even sure that would be a productive strategy most of the time. I think it might backfire more often than not.
But you have people that, they're trying whatever they want to try. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay. To me, it's okay. Like it doesn't bother me, but it's like, I notice, little things are happening. You know what I'm saying? People make little comments, but overall, I think it's like, it's more stone faced, people not saying anything, that, looking really serious, and you can feel that tension. It's not a lot of comments going on, because I think that would easily like spark something off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about 2008 in Beijing,
That's
2012 in London.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got 4 years until Rio.
That's right.
And you decide to go vegan around 2014. So
right in the middle of a quad.
Yeah, right in the middle of one of those 4-year periods where you're getting ready for your next Olympics. What sparked that decision?
Doing my ancestry, because I had already, I would say, kind of dabbled into, like, I guess, trying different diets or whatever, or like we call them just doing different fasts. You know what I'm saying? So I'm abstaining from, whether it be like, if I say, okay, I'm not eating any meat 30 days, I've done it like a number of times. And again, these were for spiritual reasons. These were for health reasons. I wasn't thinking like, I had not done all that research and looking at, hey, what are the benefits, for like athletic performance? Because I'm thinking about my spirit. I'm like, okay, so if this is going to be good for my spirit, why would it not be good for me overall? This is just how I was raised. So doing my ancestry, finding out basically what type of vessel, what type of vehicle I want to put the proper fuel in there so that I can get the best performance out of it. And when I'm talking about performance, I'm talking about quality of life. You know what I'm saying? Because in my family, a lot of people pass away just from different things and different diseases and stuff. And I'm like, man, I know we can be healthier. And I was kind of looked at, or I am kind of looked at as like someone in the family that's, on the health thing, because I'm competing, doing sports, and you see somebody got muscle and stuff like, so what's your diet like? And I did eat a little different than my family members, or someone traditionally from Louisiana. So me finding out what I need to put in my body. My ancestors, they mainly ate like plant-based, and they only ate meat like certain times of the year. And these were animals like that they were actually raising. You know what I'm saying? They dealt more in agriculture and things of that nature. So yeah, I didn't want to I definitely wanted to pay homage to my family. I definitely wanted to be able to truly create a legacy for my family and like say, hey y'all, like this is what we used to do, and when it really came to me and I, just began sharing with my family and just, saying, hey, this is going to be, the best thing for us. I'm saying people, they hear me. They hear me a lot more now. But it's just, they was just like, kind of like, this is what I'm doing, but no one was negative. They, just try to support. And it was no different than when we already would have kind of like family gatherings. Again, I'm kind of eating different than everyone else. So I always had something there that would be accommodating for me. You know what I'm saying? So, that sparked it. And, this was right before my son Kingsley, like he's 10 years old now. So this was right before he was born, and just been going since then. So I have something that I've been teaching my, all of my children, but especially like the younger ones, you know what I mean? Like they're able to really take this in. It's not too much challenging that's going on with that, but some of my older children, yeah. But nah, man, that's what sparked it off. Right in the middle of a quad. I'm not thinking about, hey man, is this gonna hurt my Olympic run or anything like that? Because again, I had already been doing it at different times of the year, like these fasts, right? I'm abstaining from certain things. So to me, committing to it, I'm like, nah, I know I'm gonna be fine, because grew up inner city. Man, shout out to Miss Monica, my mother. She worked very hard. Shout out to my dad. These people work very hard. But it's just, I'm like, I know I'm gonna be okay. I had times growing up, didn't eat very much. and now that's called intermittent fasting. And that's called, you know what I'm saying? It's been fasting, but my mom used to say that, like, she would joke, but she was being serious. Like, so I'm like, Mom, like, man, what are we gonna eat today? She like, gonna fast and pray. And like, she's saying this because, like, she's just like, hey, don't have it today. You know what I'm saying? Type thing. So you're gonna be all right. So fast forward that to 2014, I'm like, it's really just a fast, but it's not like I can't have anything to eat. I don't look at it like what I can't eat. It's like so much more that you actually, can take in, and it's better for you. So again, I'm thinking longevity. I'm thinking living a long time. I'm thinking share with my children and making sure that they're gonna be, the sharpest that they can be and the healthiest that they can be. So that's initially what came to me.
Yeah, it's great to have that family support.
Yes.
I think that's so important really in any aspect of your life. But when you make some people would call that a large dietary change.
Yes.
When you make that, not everyone will be accommodating, but having the support from your family behind you really makes a difference.
Indeed.
But what was the response just from the general public when you went vegan and started talking about that a little bit?
It wasn't what I expected. People, they just, I don't know. It's like they were just upset. That's the overall consensus of what I got. Like, I remember making the initial post, and then I just remember seeing all the comments. I'm just like, I don't understand why this has people so upset. Like, it didn't make sense, but I kind of put that in conjunction with some of the other things that I would be discussing. It's not like every single day I'm talking about drug use and, in weightlifting, but I spoke out about this stuff because, we are advocate for, like, clean sport, anti-doping, right? And this was something that has plagued the sport of weightlifting for a very long time. Out of all Olympic sports combined, all of them combined, you see on the news where they be talking about track and field, cycling, all these other sports, they don't even compare. You can combine all of those sports I just named and all the other Olympic sports, and they don't even compare to the amount of positive drug tests that are in weightlifting. Now, weightlifting they're doing a great job. They're actually cleaning it up, which they need to, because it was on the cusp of being put out of the Olympics. So I think that, in conjunction with me saying this, I guess people were thinking I'm saying I'm better than, someone, and, I'm more holier than everyone, or whatever the case is. But I look at myself as a man of faith. I look at myself as someone, man, just striving to do the right thing. I want to do right by people. First, I want to do right by myself so that I know that it's right and good, right? And then I just want to extend that to other people. That's the type of person that I am. But the reaction that I got, I was just like, man, this is what I was thinking. I was like, I'm definitely not going to be online talking about this stuff. I like, someone wants to talk to me, we can talk in person, because I know nobody's going to come up to me and just be just blatantly just disrespectful and not want to just have a regular conversation. Because I got, like I said, I mentioned Derek Johnson. We grew up in the sport together. It's my good friend. He didn't just start treating me crazy, but it was just other people, just whether they wouldn't say anything or if they did ask some questions and then I'm saying it, they just it's like they didn't believe it or something. I'm like, nah, man, I don't eat any meat. I don't deal with this. I'm not messing with that anymore. This is what I'm focused on, right? So, you get the question like, what do you eat? I'm like, well, this is what I do. I got a smartphone. So I guess we're not smart users, right? You can type this in. I'm like, you can type this meal in, you can Google it, and you can get a recipe, right? And I'm like, you can make it. I'm like, you can make it. I said, man, if you eat it, I'm telling you right now, you're going to feel it. Like, you're literally going to feel it. You're going to feel the difference. Obviously, with your brain and your taste buds, it's going to taste the same. To me, that's how it was. The food has to taste good. First and foremost, it has to taste good. I am from Louisiana, and we are big on definitely texture, flavor, taste, all of those things. So it has to be appealing for me to even want to engage in it, right? And then you look at what the results are going to be. So if I want to have, let's say, I'm saying traditionally most people eat like a pulled pork sandwich. I'm like, man, we can get, jackfruit. Even if you haven't, heard of jackfruit. So I guess it's why people say you don't know Jack. You know, Jack had
Yeah.
a fruit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, you can use this barbecue sauce. Like you can sauce it up, and you can, you know what I'm saying? And it's just little things like that. And it's like it just wasn't hidden for people. It just didn't make sense. And I understand because we have not been like raised up and like taught these health benefits or nutritional value of like just food. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I thought the reaction would be a bit different initially, but that's okay. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But now, you know, people are more open. They actually ask questions. There's more athletes that are following this, that are having great success. So they understand, like, no, you can do this, right? And you can progress, like following, you know what I'm saying, a vegan, plant-based diet. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing wrong with cleaning up, you know, the way you're living. Nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that I've been vegan now for just over 10 years.
Yeah.
And I really have never had anyone come up to me and say anything disrespectful or demeaning about my lifestyle choices, specifically veganism. But I get dozens of people commenting online on a weekly basis, just saying, well, every vegan knows the things that people say.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, I think that kind of gets to our conversation that we had 2 evenings ago, where we were just discussing the kind of polarization that I feel we have in society now. That's just, it's not healthy, and it's not helpful. It doesn't yield progress as a society. And just that kind of breakdown of just baseline respect and acceptance and a willingness to engage in respectful dialogue with people that you don't agree with. I think a lot of that, I think maybe social media has kind of been a driving force behind that. There's a lot of good aspects of social media, but then also some not so good aspects. And I think that might be part of it. So yeah, you want to share any thoughts that you have about
Definitely
how we can kind of maybe be more supportive and loving toward each other?
Yeah, it definitely starts at home. But let's say someone didn't have that upbringing where like they would like getting that nourishment, right? And actually having respect poured in them. Because what I've learned over time is people cannot give you something they don't have. If you don't have respect for yourself, how can you extend that to someone else? Because you genuinely don't know what respect is. So when someone is like, for example, online making these comments, and then in person you don't get the same thing, to me I look at that's not real. And it took me a while, like it really took me a while to get that. Like even going through social media etiquette, even going through social media orientation, making these Olympic teams, these are things that we had to do. This is behind the scene. Like you have to go through these things and learn this, because you can make a post and it can get you sent home. I've seen it happen with people, right? So fast forward that to where we are now as society. People are truly antisocial. They really are against society. You see what I'm saying? Like they can get on a social media platform, but that's only for them, you know this, to hurt other people. Hurt people. That's all they know how to do. I'm hurt, so that's what I'm doing. I'm lashing out at whoever. They probably cannot find anything positive to engage in, and they don't even know that they're being negative, so they can only pour what's in them. They've only been taking in negativity. They've only been hurt. They have not taken time to not feel sorry for themselves, but to understand it's not your fault that people hurt you or people have not truly loved you, because love is correction. Nobody took time to correct you and say, hey, you shouldn't be like that. That's not a good look for you. You know what? Like, when people are throwing fits, I look at that as like, that's their outfit. Like, that's what they put on. I look at them like, you know what? That, you know, if somebody got a real tight shirt on, it's too little, I'm like, you know, that shirt doesn't even fit you. You shouldn't wear that. Look at your pants, man. Don't put that. You shouldn't wear that outfit. It doesn't look good on you. Someone hasn't taken time and just told them this. And if someone did, they didn't get enough support to help them with these individuals. Really think about this. Who gets online and just gets on there and just wants to bash people? Because those people that are bashing in the comments, they do this stuff all day. All day. I put up a post not long ago on social media. It's just like recently. And I put up videos about doing a curl and about like basically like adding variety to a curl. Go look at the comments. Tell me how many positive comments you see out of all the comments. And I mean, I hearted all of the comments that I can see, and that the ones that I can see that got notified. I just heart all of them because I'm like, y'all need some love, man.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little heart. I don't know if that'll make you mad, but I want to burn you up. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I'm talking about just with kindness and like with respect. So if you have not seen that from anyone, that's what I have for myself. And that's really all I got to give. Now, I'm not going to throw that respect on the ground because I understand what it took to develop that. But I can extend it to you because I don't know. Someone could be, in a mode or feeling a type of way. And it's like, they may just need someone to ask, man, what's going on with you? Like, how you doing? Like, what's really on your mind? You really doing okay? And no one probably even asked them that. So that's what I see, man. And the way we can actually get back to it is really like raising our children. And if someone is not in a situation where they have guardians of that nature, I know they have some peers around them, right? I know there are some people that have the power to reach out and help younger people their age. It's just about a willingness, you know what I'm saying, wanting to help others, you know what I'm saying? Because I can help someone that wants to help themselves, or I can help someone that doesn't know that they need the help, but you can tell people are yearning for it. This is just what I see. I see with the youth, you have some people that are very angry and very hurt. So how can they give you anything else? I don't fault them for it. I just try to see where there's an opening, where I can get in and, see if I can provide some healing, because that's all I want to do, right? And you have, in today, as far as like getting face to face, it's like I don't know, it's like it's not happening. But I feel like there can be a space created where we can get face to face and have different thoughts, different ideas, and actually have a pretty healthy dialogue. It's just a willingness. Like, people got to want to do it. Like, I don't care so much about knowing everything and thinking that I'm right. Nah, I just rather what I'm saying, I know the root word of righteousness is right, but I'm not saying, I don't want to just harp on it and say, hey, like I'm right, like I told you so. Like, I'm not like that. I'd rather just be righteous, man. I'd rather have a positive engagement with someone versus anything else. But again, that comes back to a person's desire. If they don't desire any of that, then you won't be able to give them anything.
I used to be really it used to get in my head when I saw comments like that.
Likewise.
And I would just want to, I would kind of want to respond in a similar way, be a little snarky or just kind of like, well, you're totally wrong and here's why. And I'm going to just like eviscerate you in the comments or something. But over time, I've realized what you are talking about. Usually, and I know this for a fact because I will respond to really nasty comments in a polite, respectful, kind way, and just genuinely want the best for that person. And then often they will come back, and this just happened last week. Someone came back and said, hey, you know what, I'm sorry. My last comment was probably came off as pretty rude, and that's not really what I meant. And like, I think just like you learn as you're growing up from your parents, or hopefully have learned in growing up with your parents, just treating people with kindness, the golden rule, making sure to kind of turn the cheek and really give people some positive energy that they might not actually be getting from any other place in their life.
And this is true.
Helping them to just realize that, hey, there are there are people out there who want the best for me, even if they don't know me.
That's right.
I think that's really positive.
That's right. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Very simple. But again, some people don't know how to, treat themselves. So that's in turn, they don't know how to treat other people.
So you competed in your first 2 Olympics at 88 kilos in the weight class. You bumped up to 94 for your third Olympics in Rio. So in 2014, 2 years before Rio, you went vegan, and then you were also bumping up 6 kilos.
Yeah, basically about a strong like 4. You know what I'm saying? Like at that point.
Yeah.
At that point, because I'm getting around, I'm 89, 90 kilos easily, and because I have been having to do that cut, and I'm having little injuries, so I said, man, I gotta bump it up. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking this is gonna help like just sustain my body, right?
Yeah, I learned yesterday during your talk that you have 1 hour between weigh-ins and when you actually have to step on the platform. And that's not the same for many other sports where you have to weigh in, whether it's wrestling, UFC, whatever. You have hours, if not maybe even the night before, day before, where you can do weigh-ins, and then so you can just totally dehydrate your body, cut down 10 pounds in an afternoon, and then just drink all that water back, rehydrate your body, and be ready to compete. For if you have 1 hour, that strategy does not work, and you have to actually cut down your body weight, your true body weight, because you can't deplete yourself.
Yes.
Because there's no way you're bouncing back in an hour. No. So what, to get down to 88 kilos, what was that process like for you? Did you ever track your nutrition? Did you just add in some extra cardio? What did you have to do in preparation for competition to get down to a lower body weight than you kind of normally would sustain?
And one thing I had to do, so if let's say I was weighing 87 plus, because I had to get down to 85, right? It would just be cutting out like not water, but like a lot of juice, stuff like that. Probably dialing back on the portion size of the meals. You know what I'm saying? Little things like that. Because when I got close to competitions, like I didn't really want to eat very much. That's kind of how I was like, and I think that pattern developed maybe just early on, but I really wouldn't eat very much. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm not eating anything, but no, just really like enough to feel good. I don't feel hungry, right? But I would use a sauna. You know what I'm saying? So cutting back on like juice and things like that, right? And then if necessary, in most cases I wanted to use a sauna as well, right? So that's how I would do it. So once I got the weight dialed in, I knew going into weigh-ins, like I'm already good, because you don't want to be in a situation where you go to weigh-ins and then you don't make weight, right? And then they're gonna give you 1 hour, you know what I'm saying, to come back and redo it, because there's only a certain amount of time that they're doing weigh-ins, right? So once weigh-ins are completed, the competition is about to start. Like so you don't have a lot of time if you think you're gonna be cutting down all this crazy. It doesn't work like that in weightlifting. Like you have to be a little bit more strategic and start it kind of like, I'm saying, days ahead, just depending on how much you have to cut, but it's starting days ahead of the competition. So in most cases, you're gonna have to lift more weight than you've ever lifted at a lighter weight.
Yeah.
Because you got to know in training, not saying you can be ridiculous, but in training, you got your training weight and then you got the competition weight, and you don't want them to be so far away from each other. So in training, like I'm not gonna be 90 kilos and then cutting 5 kilos. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's a lot of weight, and that's an aggressive cut. But like I said, I was starting to get around that, just like naturally. I'm like, 88 kilos, and 3 kilos is not a lot to cut. You know what I'm saying? Especially like over time. But I noticed like little injuries and different little things that I was having. I was like, man, I gotta bump up, because I feel like this cut is hurting me. We're doing all these competitions, and I'm like, so I just kind of got to that point, getting older, and I can, I think, putting the extra weight on, I think it'll help me, and then I don't have to worry about like, cutting weight, and this should help me out, and it did work in my favor. It was different, as far as like, really putting the weight on, and just my movements. But once I got used to like really moving at that weight, like it was I felt fine. You know what I'm saying? So I think I had a really good, I would say, like step in like getting the weight on, and like, getting myself acclimated into this new weight class. You know what I'm saying? Because competing through the quad, like I was always like lighter, you know what I'm saying, than my competitors. But that wasn't something where I'm like, oh, I'm at a disadvantage. I didn't feel like that, because I really felt strong. I really felt strong, and I knew like what I was doing. Like I knew it was gonna work, because how I felt. Like I didn't feel depleted, right? I didn't feel like I wasn't recovering. I didn't feel like, man, my training isn't going well. Like everything was really working. Even when I changed my diet, my coach, he didn't come to me and say, why are you doing this? Like, what's going on? Man, we may have had one conversation about it, because he was just like, hey, nah, I heard you said you were doing this now, or so you sticking to it, basically. And yeah, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. And supportive. He wasn't like, okay, I don't know what you're gonna do. It wasn't anything like that. He was like, okay, so look, make sure it's that. That's all it was like just make sure, like, that you're eating. Don't try to, don't try to, like skip anything or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? He like, nah, just stick to your regimen. And that's all it is, because it's not like I wasn't eating before. It's just what I was eating. So to me, if I'm eating healthier food, why would it not be a benefit to me? That's how I'm looking at it. But I guess it's just this stigma behind it, where people are like, because that's how they ask, like, man, well, how are you gonna be strong? Like you're not eating this and this. And I'm like, I already don't even eat that. Like, for example, steaks and stuff, like traditional beef steak, that was never really my thing. Like I never really got off into eating steaks. So I wasn't missing anything. It's not that I never had a steak. I just, that wasn't my go-to. You know what I'm saying? So I was confident with the support that I had, and to me it was a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking about cutting weight, and that's how I did it. Mainly cutting out certain things, portion size, and then like using the sauna. I love the sauna to this day. Like I love that heat, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. So you never did much strict tracking of nutrition? It
No,
was
I didn't.
Kind of just more intuitive.
Yes, really feel. You know what I'm saying? Like what I was tracking more so was like the training. Like I used to, just kind of document like what I'm doing in training, but not so much with the food. For me, I personally felt that was gonna be way too much, because I had not done it before. You see what I'm saying? Like I've never kept up with it. So I don't know if that's like I don't know if that's disheartening for people to hear, but people ask me, I'm like, nah, I never really tracked like macros and micros. I never did that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But the training, like what we're doing, what numbers, I'm doing on certain exercises, reps, like I was doing a lot of that.
Yeah, being able to have some science-based approach to training, with being able to track your numbers over time and understand how things are progressing and what your trajectory is. I imagine that would be a pretty crucial aspect of competing at a world-class level.
For sure. And it's a lot of athletes that are just like myself that don't track it at all. You know what I'm saying? They really just go on the field. You know what I mean?
With their nutrition?
With their nutrition. You know what I'm saying? Now you do have some athletes that are personally track it, or they have, their nutritionist. I didn't have a nutritionist, but I mentioned the young man I mentioned, Dimitri, his father, Robert McAtee. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was doing some work with like the veteran hospital, and he's a nutritionist. He's someone that I talk with and chat with, and he's just always encouraging. You know what I'm saying? We didn't talk too much about a vegan diet, but more so kind of like a check-in, just to make sure I'm good. That's really about it. So he didn't get anything, say, hey, I'm going to track this for you and do that. Nah, but he used to bring me like Cliff Bars and different little things. And early on. You know what I'm saying? This is before I changed my diet, but he would always just try to make sure, you know what I'm saying, that I'm okay, that I got some stuff, you know what I mean? And then even making that change, I didn't see him that much, but he is somebody to reach out and at least, you know what I mean? Just make sure you're okay, checking on you. Hey, how's training going? You know, I saw you guys just had this, you know, so he was always encouraging, you know what I'm saying? Because I think for me, I think people knew, like, you know, once I kind of had my mind made up on something, like nobody really bothered me. You know what I'm saying? They check in though, just to make sure everything's okay. But nobody really bothered me or like, hey man, I don't think you should do that. I think that's not smart. You know, nothing like that. Because they felt like if I did something, I've done my due diligence and I have my reasons for why I'm doing it.
What's it feel like to hit a plateau at a really high level of athleticism? How do you deal with plateaus? How did you deal with plateaus in your training where you are just putting in a ton of effort to maybe just maintain your strength and hopefully eke out an extra kilo here and there? How do you deal with facing those plateaus?
You have to be willing to just face it. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't thinking like, hey, this is the end of my progress, because like we have all these different quotes, and I got my own quotes that I like. Hey, there's no elevator, you know what I'm saying, to success. You got to take the stairs. You know what I'm saying? Hating every minute of training but wanting to live forever as a champion. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So I just wasn't like moved and saying like, okay, hey, I'm not making progress, so like what's wrong? I've never felt like that. I knew we had to train just to maintain, right? Just to stay strong. Like, you're gonna have to come put the work in. It has to be a maximum effort. None of this stuff is automatic. Just because you come to the gym, that's not gonna make you stronger. Like, we had a little joke in the gym. It's like some people think they'll get stronger just come sitting in the gym, and that's not it. Now, I'm not saying the environment can't boost your spirit, because it can, you know what I mean? And you can feel stronger, but you still have to get active at some point. So facing plateaus, when I said I look forward to it, like I actually look forward to it, because I know on the other side there is something for me. You know what I'm saying? Am I willing to work to get to it though? Even if it's just that 1 kilo, we're talking about progress, right? So you can't have progress without struggle. So I was willing to struggle, because honestly, this is what I've known my whole life, is struggling. You know what I'm saying? And it was a norm to me. You don't know that you're poor or living in poverty or struggling until you get around other people that they're not from the circumstances that you're from, right? So for me, it was like, okay, if I champion that situation, how can I not champion this situation? Because to make it simple, I'm like, it's just training. You know what I'm saying? It's just a sport, because that's they call it the Olympic Games. It's just games. So not that it's not on a high level or perceived as like, you know, like world class or top notch. I just try not to put certain things on a pedestal, if that makes sense, even if that's my goal, because I had just started learning so much. Going through those Olympic orientations. You know, they have different Olympians that come and speak to us and talk to us about the high of the Olympic Games, the low of the Olympic Games, right? And like, you can make something your everything and it can become your nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I had to start putting value in things that would actually like reciprocate. And weightlifting it has done a lot for me. I learned a lot, but I'm talking about where I got the most value from is like, you know, people. You see what I'm saying? Like, sincere people in my life. And those are things that I will never forget. No one can make me put any of the relationships or, you know, like the friendships and things that I had an opportunity to develop and like, you know, have close to me and cherish so much. Nobody can make me put any accomplishment that I have over those things, because those people that I got friendships with and like we're friends for life, and it's not going to change. They don't care about like what I accomplished, right? They didn't care about any stuff like that. You know, we were all in there and we worked hard. We definitely, you know, supported for one another, but what we did athletically is not going to determine like if you're a good friend or not, right? If you're a good person or not. It's just something that you did. Hey, okay, you had great success with that, man. That is phenomenal, right? And you want that for other people, but at the end of the day, what's more important is like, you know, your interactions with one another, because that's what people are going to remember. And like, someone may, you know, we can all remember certain competitions we all trained for, you know, and went to. For example, in 2013, we had the World University Games, and trying to make sure I got it correctly, we were in Russia. I would say we may have been in Moscow, but I say I know for sure it was in Russia, right? And it was at least 6 of us from the same gym that was on that team, right? LSU Shreveport, at least 6 of us on that world team competing in Russia. So we all got to train in the gym together, right? And go and compete internationally together. And listen, we all had a great competition. No kidding. Everybody had a great competition. But what we all remember the most is us all being together. And then I remember Danny Slag, did the design for this t-shirt. Phenomenal guy. He just made a post about it the other day. And again, everybody had a great meet, but we got to do it together. And that was the most important, and that was probably my favorite competition out of all the competitions. And I'm not trying to put the Olympic Games down or anything like that. It's like, these are people that I got to see day to day, got to train with day to day, and we all got to do an international competition together. And that's something that I never forget. Front of my mind, got funny stories, everything, right? Man, listen, so many stories, and that's worth everything to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I can have my own memories, but to have memories that you can share with other people, that's even better.
Yeah, that's well said. And I'd love to know what percentage of the time when you are training are you having fun? Are you enjoying it? Versus this is kind of a slog. This is just, I'm just getting in here and getting this done, and this is really freaking hard. What was kind of the balance there for you personally?
I would say the majority of the training, like I can easily say about like 85 to 90% of the training was enjoyable. A very small percentage is like, I'm like, man, like I gotta do this so I can move on. Just being honest. And if you're in an environment, if it is a 10% you're enjoying it and 90% you're just trying to do it and get it done, you might not be in the right space. I'm gonna just be honest, because you should be able to enjoy it. Even though we're doing something hard, we should be able to find something that we enjoy about it. And I'm saying I'm talking about as a collective. Let's say you're training by yourself, right? Whatever got you motivated to start training, and you weren't too concerned about having a training partner, but you really wanted to, you know, just start and do it. Man, that should keep you going. That should have you fired up to work out every time you go into a session. But the majority of my training is actually enjoyable. I'm talking about from a child all the way to an adult. That's why I was able to stick in it so long. You know what I'm saying? Like we've all had moments where probably, you know, certain people we probably didn't want to train with, but none of that deterred me, because again, I'm trying to make sure I'm in the right spirit. I'm still gonna speak. I'm still gonna, you know what I mean? Like try to make it light, try to be encouraging, you know what I'm saying, for those individuals or that individual. Like I'm not gonna get besides myself and you know, lose my focus on like why I'm here and things that I enjoy about being in the gym or in that training session, just because of a few individuals or one person or something I personally may have going on outside of training. You know what I'm saying? Because I know once I get in there and I get going, I'm gonna get uplifted. So those are things that help me.
I think the key to long-term sustainability in your health and fitness journey is really just enjoying what you are doing. If you do
Indeed.
not genuinely enjoy what you are doing, at least on some level, you're not going to stick with it, whether we're talking about a particular approach to your nutrition or a particular approach to fitness. I think one of the big issues in the general fitness world is that there are too many unsustainable approaches, or too many kind of cookie cutter one size fits all approaches where they say, hey, this is what you need to eat and this is how you need to train to get results. And if you are doing something else, then you're not going to be getting the same results. And I think, yeah, you might be able to get really amazing short-term results by following a plan that you don't enjoy doing, but what's going to happen a couple months down the road, couple years down the road, I think that's really ultimately why people yo-yo and have a kind of all or nothing approach to health and fitness, is because they don't find the things that they really enjoy doing. So for some people that might be weightlifting, for other people that might be pickleball or table tennis, or also just having a blend of different activities, I think is really important.
No, I agree.
So we talked a little bit about how it feels to hit plateaus. What about, how does it feel to kind of peak in your athletic career, hit kind of your peak strength and PRs, and like you're clearly in really great shape? But how does it feel to kind of be on the backside of your peak strength and athleticism? How have you kind of felt about that?
I actually feel amazing about it, man. You know what I'm saying? Because
Good.
like I'm in this space now where it's like, I can talk very lightly about those things, and I always just try to focus on, you know, who I'm in front of. You know what I'm saying? Because that's like another training session, if that makes sense to me. I mean, if it makes sense to you. So it's like, let's say, you know, we're in the gym, we're in there together. We got some goals. We both working out. That's great. I like going into the gym now and someone else is working out. You know what I'm saying? Like I love it because I'm like, okay, like man, like I know they have that feeling that I had, you know what I'm saying, when I was in the gym. Even if you're curious about certain things, even if you know you're in your own thoughts, or even if you know you're feeling super motivated, like I just like seeing all the different personalities, right? So I'm in this space now where, you know, I can share just my experiences and just try to help someone as much as possible. That's what I really love doing. I love going around the gym, just looking at different people. You can see certain individuals are going through things. You know, you can see who's like, you know, feeling like super stoked about training. You can see who's super focused. You can see folks that are like really struggling. You know what I mean? I love to see it all. And because it gives an opportunity, you know what I'm saying? Like to just go and share something with someone, be encouraging, you know what I'm saying? Or like lend an ear, like those things. I mean, I love all of that. So those are new challenges for me. You see what I'm saying? Like to just be able to say, okay, well, how can I help this person? And I mentioned uplifted because that's what I want to do. I want to uplift people. So I may not be lifting a ton of weight, but what if I help lift a burden off of someone, right? Or what if I help someone with that burden and then they get strong enough where they can just tote it themselves? That's just like hitting a PR to me. Like that's my new challenge now. You know what I'm saying? Trying to figure things out, pay attention to people, and seeing like how I can help. So now my goals, though they have shifted, it's just in a different way. I'm still approaching it the same way. Like I'm going in, I'm trying to see how I can get the most out of the session. You know what I'm saying? So I love it. Like I don't look at it like, man, I just wish I could lift this much and do this. The only time I bring it up to people is like if I see someone and I know they can get it, I'm like, man, like, you know, you really could, you know, you could take it to another level. I'm like, do you want to take it to another level? So I want them to answer me honestly. Like, some people may say no, and I'm like, okay, so if you don't want to take it to another level, like, why are you here? So I'm trying to figure out why even they say, hey, well, let's say it's a young person. Hey, my dad, he made me come on. My mom, they made me come. Okay, so what do you think about it? Right? I think it's stupid. Okay, so what's stupid about it? I just ask questions. So now we're having a conversation now. Well, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to be here. So I'm like, so you think it's stupid because you don't want to be here? You know what I'm saying? You just get an opportunity like just to break things down. And to me, that's still lifting weights, because that's something that's heavy on someone. And now we're taking that off. And to me, I think it takes a special type of person, because I've seen it within my own life, just different people that have engaged with me, asked really good questions, showed that they cared, and just like really motivating. You know what I'm saying? In ways that were very subtle. You know what I mean? You didn't even know the person was being motivating. You didn't even know that the person was being encouraging because of how they approached you. You know what I'm saying? So I like that. I like being in that position now, and it gives me something to look forward to. So that's great, all the stuff I did, and if I can share it with someone and say, yeah, hey, when I was your age, hey, I was doing this, had opportunity, you know what I'm saying, to go, I lifted in this, whatever it is, because I'm working with children now, and they've been coming in the gym with this season probably about, I think we're going in like about 3 weeks now, right? And they just noticed a picture of me on the wall. Because like, you got to look, they see me now. A couple of them know I went to the Olympics. Some of them, they really don't know, right? They don't have a clue. And it's a picture of me on the wall in the gym. It's from a USA weightlifting magazine, and I was 17 at the time. So no facial hair. I don't have the long locks. I got a haircut, everything. And I remember one of the youngsters, he went over and he was looking at it. He just seen the name though. So it's not like he seen the picture and was like, hey, this is you. He seen the name, and he was like, he looking at it, and he's like, Coach Kendrick. He like, this is you. I like, yeah, that's me when I was 17. So they can see the weights, because the weights are in the gym. They see that whatever weights on the bar, and they're like, okay, so you were lifting that at 17. You know what I'm saying? So now it's like, there's a connection there. Now it's not stupid anymore. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I love that, but I don't go into it and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I feel like they'll be way more intimidating. You know what I'm saying? I'm showing them who I am, right? I care about y'all. I'm here on time, right? I'm making sure you guys okay. I'm letting you know what we're doing. I'm setting boundaries. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about how we got to treat one another. I'm talking about how we got to approach the training. And then I know they're still going to be children, right? So I'm just trying to make sure they have some order, some structure. And then sometimes they are like ants with like honey all over the place. They're just everywhere. But it's all good. So that's how I approach it, man. I don't even say I'm retired. I just say I'm tired. That's it. I say, man, no, I'm just tired, man. Because I really felt like if I took time and if I wanted to focus on myself, I could be lifting as a master. Like I can do master lifting. But I really enjoy working with the young people. Like I feel like I've honestly done enough lifting. It's not like I'm not open to lifting. This is what I'm focused on right now. Yeah, helping younger people, helping they can be people my age, but I really love the youth, man, because their energy is like, it's unmatched. You know what I'm saying? From anything I've seen out here.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really important work, and that's also a really beautiful perspective. I just think I really love that.
Man, hallelujah, for real, man. I'm just thankful, sincerely. So any way I could like pay it forward and just like, just paint a picture for them, and it's truly for them. And I don't have to be in that picture that I paint. I just want to tap on them a little bit and say, man, you got some potential. And that's just unrealized power. I want you to know the power that you got inside of you. You know what I'm saying? But you got to use it for good. This is just what I tell them. Because if they actually get on it now, think about starting a positive pattern at a young age. You just fast forward that you don't know what these individuals are going to be doing. I was sharing with someone at dinner yesterday, it was at lunch, about this young man. He's from Shreveport, Louisiana. He's from the same neighborhood that I'm from. He grew up in the projects, right? And name is David Holmes. He has a business. He's called the Hood Humanitarian. What he does is he starts gardens. He started a garden early on. It was a young lady named Shalon Lewis. She was working at our rec center that's in our neighborhood, and she got these children together. I used to go over and do some work with them some years ago, and she got these children, and they started a garden, a community garden, right? And what this young man is doing now is he's doing the same thing. He's living in New Jersey. He's down in Florida right now, finishing graduate school, but he lives in New Jersey, works in education, and that's what they do. They start gardens in places where they're so-called food deserts. So you don't know what impact you're gonna have on someone, because he tells all these stories about, hey man, I remember, when you used to come work with us, and man, what you said to me, and that, you know what I'm saying? So those things are motivating. You don't know what someone's gonna do. So to see what he's doing, like I said, man, that is inspiring for me, because he inspires me. You know what I'm saying? I was just texting him the other day. I was like, bro, man, what you're doing is just another level. You know what I'm saying? So little stories like that, they always motivate me. He's not a weightlifter. He was an athlete. He did work out. He did play basketball. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't limit himself to that. Even when basketball so-called got taken away from him, right, or he wasn't able to like participate on his collegiate teams anymore, he didn't revert back to like a negative state or go into any negativity. He actually used that as motivation to move forward. How can he help people? How can he still be a service of people? So things like that, man, like I said, that keeps me, you know what I'm saying, fired up, because you don't know what these young people, or you don't know what anyone's gonna do. I met so many people, you know what I'm saying, just in different places. And then fast forward a few years, these people are doing like some phenomenal things. I don't take credit for it, but it's just interesting when people they come back and they thank you, and I'm just like, man, I gotta thank you. You know what I'm saying? For even like wanting to come and like be in the same space with me, or wanting to like hear what I had to say, or keeping in touch with me, to even just share with me like, how you're progressing. So all of that stuff is incredible to me, man.
I think that ripple effect is so powerful,
Yes.
and you never know how far those ripples are going to extend, or how they're what direction they're going to head in.
That's right.
So I think just pouring into people, investing in relationships like that, and just really working to help others. That's right. Is really what it's all about.
And I'm just saying that what you guys are doing here, and I know I keep telling you, man, dude, it is next level. It is next level. I know you guys are working. They mesh well together. You can see it. You can see that there is a focus, there is structure, that people are enjoying themselves. They are being challenged day to day. And it's like, I see this bring it attitude, you know what I'm saying, every day. Like whatever someone's role is, man, they are doing it. You know what I'm saying? And that's inspiring me. So sincerely, like, man, hats off to you guys for what you guys are doing, because I can't even imagine like 10 years from now, I don't know what it's going to look like. It's going to be crazy. You know what I'm saying? In a good way. So definitely just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Man,
we've got a really good team, and my goal, similar to what we've kind of been touching on with your journey, is to always show up and get a little better every day.
Yes.
You show up, you put in the work, and you just try to get a little bit better day after day, week after week, and month after month. And you tie that habit of continual progression and growth, and it can be, like you mentioned, the brick metaphor earlier. It doesn't look like much when you're just putting one brick down at a time, but you fast forward months, years, decades.
Oh yeah.
And you have a really incredible structure.
That's true.
So that's how we try to focus our efforts as a team.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to finish up by just asking you, what are you most proud of accomplishing so far in your life, in your career?
Really being a husband, really being a father. Like, that's really what I'm most proud of, because that's the most challenging. Like, my children, like, they listen, so honest. Like, they don't care about any of that stuff. When I say they don't care about, not that they're saying, hey man, what you did is nothing. They don't buy into it. Like, if we're out like anywhere and like, let's say someone recognized me and, they want to say something, they always just look like, so these people know you? Like what? Like why are they talking to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're just not moved by, like that the Olympic stuff and, all those little accolades and all. They're just not moved by it. And that's humbling. I love it. Like I'm not like, man, you should know who I am. It's just, it's just, they're like, yeah, you're just dad. You're the guy that's gonna come and, rain on the parade sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta be the villain in the house, if that makes sense. Only because I'm striving to bring, just that order and structure, you know what I'm saying? Because I am looking ahead. So that honestly, that is the thing that I'm most proud of, is really being, a husband, a father, and working at that day to day. But if I had to pick something, athletically, it would be having like those all-time records. Like that's something that sticks out to me because it just won't change. It just shows like at the point in time that I was doing, what I was doing, like competing, I was the best to do it right there. And it's solidified. You know what I'm saying? So that's something, if I had to pick something, I would say that right there.
Yeah, I really love that perspective, and I think that's what makes you a great husband, a great father, being there for your family, being there for loved ones. We've been talking a lot about the importance of relationships and really having and cultivating a close-knit community within your family and also beyond that. So, yeah, I just really appreciate your presence and also just like your personality. You're so welcoming and outgoing, and I've just heard amazing things from everyone who's had a chance to speak with you here, and it's been really great to get to know you better and have the opportunity to do this podcast.
Oh man, hallelujah.
So really appreciate your time.
Man, thank you so much. And I really got to do a shout out to my wife, man, Mrs. Brittany Farris. Love her, because hey, if she didn't let me come out, man, how would we be here right now? So yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yes, indeed.
Kendrick, I just really appreciate your time. Thank you so much to you and your wife for letting you come out here and spend some time with us. I would love to just finish up by asking you, how can our audience best support you and all of the amazing work that you're doing?
Yes, indeed. Quick shout out to Mrs. Brittany Farris, but how you guys can support what we're doing. Check me out on blesstthegymforever.com, blesstthegymforever.com. Check us out. You can reach out, send us a message on there, and then we just kind of go from there. But we're doing a lot of things. Man, we're lobbying for healthier meals in schools nationwide, adding plant-based options, into our schools. So get in touch with us, see what we're doing, see how you can support it. But that's what we got going on. You can check me out on social media. You can find me on Instagram at Kendrick J Farris. That is KendrickJFarris.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Well, Kendrick, thank you so much for your time. It's been great getting to know you a little bit better and learning more about your journey, and also having the opportunity to share that with a bunch of people.
Indeed. Likewise. Thank you for having me.
So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Vegan Gym Podcast. If you would like to watch these episodes, we are recording them in video format and putting them on YouTube. So you can just search for the Vegan Gym Podcast on YouTube. And of course, we have the audio only versions as well, if that's more your thing. So thank you so much for watching and listening. Hope that you got a ton of value from this conversation. And hope you have an awesome rest of your day. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you.
All right. Peace.